The strangest thing about the flood is that you pray for the disaster. All year, your life hangs on the moment the Nile rises high enough to drown your fields, erase your boundaries, swallow your footpaths, and turn the land to shining brown water. If it fails, your children go hungry. If it comes too hard, your house can slide into the mud. You wake before dawn on a mat that still holds yesterday's heat. The air is heavy, thick with damp clay, river weed,
and the faint sweet rot of standing water. Beside you, your wife is already awake, grinding emmer with a stone quern in the dimness. Outside, frogs rasp in the dark, and somewhere, a donkey stamps and snorts, unhappy with the wet ground. You push aside the reed mat at the doorway and feel cool mud squeeze between your toes. The sky over the eastern bank is only beginning to pale, but the river speaks first. It is louder than it was yesterday, fuller.
a broad slow slapping against reeds and mooring posts. In Akhet, the season of inundation, you learn to measure the world by sounds, creaking rope, drifting waterfowl, the softened hush where dry earth used to be. Your fields are gone, not destroyed, hidden. Yesterday's ridges of barley land and flax plots lie beneath a skin of silt-heavy water that reflects the waking sky in dull bronze. Only the tops of boundary markers and the darker crowns of date palms tell you where the old lines once ran. You stare anyway, as if your eyes could hold the land in place until the river gives it back. Your eldest boy carries the wooden hoe over one shoulder and a coil of rope in his free hand. You take the woven basket and the short mallet. Today there is no plowing, no man turns a flooded field. Instead you work to guide the water, mend the basin edges, clear channels, and watch the height, because too little flood is hunger and too much is another kind of loss. You chew a piece of coarse bread and swallow a mouthful of weak beer before leaving. The beer is cloudy and sour, safer than river water taken carelessly, and it leaves a yeasty taste on your tongue. Your wife presses a lump of onion and salt into your hand. Even in flood season, no one in your house eats without counting the jars. At the bank, your small reed boat knocks gently against its mooring stake. You step in carefully, feeling it shift under your weight. Then push away with a pole. Papyrus brushes your calves. White birds lift from the shallows in a sudden rattle of wings. Across the water, other farmers are already moving, thin figures in skiffs, shadows against the pale flood, every household answering the same river. The basin embankment has slumped in the night. You see it at once, a weak place where the water tongues through and carries off clots of black mud. You and your boy jump into the shallows, scooping wet earth with baskets, stamping it into place with your heels, driving in reeds and brush to slow the bite of the current. The mud is cool at first, then warm where the sun touches it. By sunrise, the world gleams. The river spreads gold under the light, and insects dance over every still patch. Sweat runs down your ribs. Your hands smell of silt, fish, and crushed reeds. Somewhere nearby, a man calls to Ptah to steady a crumbling wall. Another mutters to Happy, Lord of the Flood, to be generous but not cruel. You keep a careful eye on the Nilometer marker near the temple landing, a stone measure that turns the river into numbers. The priests and scribes watch it too. They will know from the flood how heavy the harvest ought to be months from now, and from that reckoning, taxes will come. Even while the water hides your fields, men are already counting what the mud has not yet grown. You pull to the higher strip where your house and granary stand above the basin. The goats are tied farther upslope than usual, complaining in thin, nervous cries. You check the mud brick walls with your palm. Damp creeps upward in dark stains. A bad flood can soften a wall from the bottom until one corner bulges, then leans, then folds with hardly a warning. Your wife has spread mats to dry what can still be dried. Net weights, a spare carrying yoke, baskets, a bundle of flax fiber. She tells you the youngest has a feverish forehead. Mosquitoes breed where the water lingers in shallow warmth, and sickness comes with fertility as naturally as reeds follow the bank. Then go back to work because the river does not pause for fear. Near noon, a neighbor calls you over with a sharp wave of the arm. One of his chickens has drowned in a wash of water that came under the coop. Another has gone missing. Together, you lift a crate of tools onto a roof ledge and wedge it there with stones. Flood season makes everyone temporary. Beds move, grain jars move, animals move, and still the water finds what was forgotten. The sun climbs and presses the smell of life out of everything. Warm mud, green papyrus, fish scales left in a basket, donkey dung turning sweet in the heat. Your tunic sticks to your back. When you drink, the beer is nearly hot, but you take it gratefully and sit on the boat's edge for a moment, staring at a crocodile trail cut like a seam through the floating weed. Men from the local estate come by boat to inspect the embankments. With them is a scribe carrying palette and reed pens, his linen cleaner than yours, his hands unstained by field mud. He asks how high the water stood at dawn, whether a bank failed, whether any basin has taken too much. You answer carefully. A careless tongue can grow expensive after harvest. You and the others repair a shared channel gate made of wood and packed earth. This is the true labor of inundation. Not dramatic, not noble, just constant attention. You open, close, tamp, lift, drag, and judge. A finger's width of water can mean lush grain months from now, or empty heads on brittle stalks. Toward evening, the heat loosens, the light turns amber over the floodplain, and the water begins to hold the sky instead of fighting it. Children laugh from a higher bank, chasing each other around stacked jars while elders sit with their feet in the mud. For a little while, the village exhales. The river has not taken anyone today. You set a small offering near a household shrine niche, a bit of bread, a few drops of beer, a whispered thanks. Hapi for the flood, Osiris for the black fertile soil. The quiet dead of your family who worked the same basin before your feet ever sank into it. You do not pray for riches, you pray for measure, for enough and not too much. At dusk you walk the edge of the water one last time. Frogs begin again, midges gather in trembling clouds. The flood hides your labor under a shining skin, making all your effort look small. Yet beneath that water, the fine dark silt settles grain by grain, building next year's bread in silence no human hand can match. You eat after dark, bread, onions, a little dried fish, beer gone cooler with the night. Your children lean against you, tired and sticky with sweat. Across the water, another family's lamp glows dimly through reed walls. The Nile has erased your fields for now, but not your waiting. And that is the truth the flood teaches every year. You do not own this land. Not really. You borrow it from the river between one drowning and the next. The black soil that feeds you arrives as ruin first, and every mouthful in your house begins with watching your world disappear beneath the water.